Good afternoon and welcome to the May 20th meeting of the Glendale Housing Authority. May we have roll call?
Authority member Arginian,
Here.
Rotman,
Here.
Garpetian, Kasakian,
Here.
Najarian,
Here.
Parazian,
Here.
and Chair Asadrian.
Here. And may we have your report?
The agenda for the May 20th, 2025 regular meeting of the Glendale Housing Authority was posted on May 16th, 2025 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
All right. And then do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved?
Second.
Roll call?
Authority member Arginian,
Yes.
Rotman,
Yes.
Garpetian, Kasakian,
I was not here for that meeting, so I will abstain.
Najarian,
Yes.
Parazian,
Yes.
and Chair Asadrian.
Yes. Do we have any cards for oral communication?
I do have cards. I don't know if Garo Nazardian is for this or just oral communication. Is it for oral? No, it's not. Okay, I also have Beth Brooks. Beth, is it for the housing?
Please come up, Ms. Brooks. Ms. Brooks, please come up.
Beth, you have 5 minutes.
No, I just, I listened to the budget meeting in and out of like 3 doctor's appointments, and then at the end, my phone died before I can make public comments. So maybe I missed this because this is the Housing Authority, and I remember you nodded your head when I said, couldn't I come to this body to talk about helping renters? I don't know did the housing director talk about money for renters at all in the budget? Was there any? And you don't have to answer because I know you don't answer, but that was my, question to you today in oral communications. Was there any money earmarked for renters? Because there's a lot of money floating around. There's a lot of money. And, I'm guessing there wasn't any money there because there's money for roofs and bathroom renovations and this thing and that thing. And I'm guessing there wasn't any money. And I'd like to know why. Because I'm sure she or he, I think it's a woman, is aware of struggling renters in this city, especially the elderly. And I'm also assuming that the way the budget goes, because there doesn't seem to be any public input, I don't remember, the public being consulted about, I know you had a survey or a poll. I don't know how that figured into the budget, but as far as I know, being very ignorant about, accounting, that I guess the department heads tell you, hey, we want this money. And then, they just spend it. And so you're basically counting, and because everybody wants money, everybody wants free money. It's like, here's our $1.2 billion. There are fixed costs, and then the rest of it is, I'd like this, and I'd like that, and I'd like this, especially when government money is like monopoly money. It's not related to you. It's not your money. You're not spending your money. You're not going to the store and saying, God, that's really expensive. You're doling it out, and the department heads are going to ask for whatever they can. When I see $2 million for, putting art projects in Glendale, I just want to, shoot myself, because I think that's what I saw. Because you could take that $2 million and do a lot of things with that. You can't? Well, there are lots of, I don't believe in waiting every 4 years to change things. Okay, that's the stuff from the apartment, the developers? Yeah, okay, so then something else. Something else, because he discussed it with me, yeah, so that's the money? Okay, forget that then. But that there is no money for renters, and what is the housing director doing then if she's not helping to take care of renters? I don't know. I don't know what to say, because I'm sure she was consulted. I know the Housing Authority deals with Section 8, and things like that, affordable housing. But I don't know why she's MIA. Maybe she's not. I missed it. Several doctors. But, as far as I know, there wasn't any money that I heard about going to help renters. So that's my question, and also my comment, then, because it's oral communications about the budget, is that I would think there should be a give and take with the public, how the money is spent. That first you go to the public and say, what do you think? What would you like to see? What do you think is missing here? And then the departments, and you go back and forth. all of a sudden there's a budget meeting and I'm sure everything will just go through, or cuts and payments, and the public has no input. I don't know, maybe they did and I missed it, but the public has no input in how the money is spent. 50,000 goes to this because the department head said, you know, I think I need 50,000. What, why? Can't, and if they don't, and they're gonna then use all of it. You know, if you give people 50,000, they'll spend 50,000. I know, he's looking at you and you're looking at him, you know, but I don't know. So I'm coming up here saying I don't know, but I would hope that in the future, or before you finalize a budget, that this goes back and forth. I don't think you should just leave it up to the department. I'm gonna be honest. I think you need an independent, private commission or committee to see how to do this more cost efficiently, and to also check to see how you're spending the money. I really do. I think that would be great. Thank you.
If I can clarify, and then
Okay.
give you, Ms. Brooks? There was a lot provided to us today. One of the decisions we made was that we need to digest everything.
Yeah.
And then be able to have that thorough conversation with staff. During the last budget session, not this morning's, staff also had brought a list of items that council had requested for it to be part of discussion during the budget sessions. So I know that there's a red subsidy initiative that we're waiting for staff to bring back, and Mr. Galanian's been looking at me. I think he wants to say a few words.
Okay.
But this is a process, and we weren't just taking what was provided to us. We're going to have a thorough conversation in the upcoming sessions.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Galanian.
Thank you, Housing Chair Saturian. Two things. Mr. Bradley Calvert, our Community Development Director, is in charge of Housing Division. He is in the process of finalizing a report for potential of rental assistance that will come in front of the Housing Authority and Council on June 3rd for consideration. And as far as budget study sessions are concerned, they're open to the public. We encourage public to engage and comment and attend these meetings and make their opinion known to council. It's not a closed session meeting.
Since I can't answer, but can I answer? Can I say that, but you've made the numbers known already, so
Madam
we
Chair,
didn't
it can't be
input
back and
anything.
forth.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
I'm
we
allowing
didn't
it.
input anything.
Understood.
Thank you. Okay, thank you. Did you want to?
No,
Okay,
no.
we're good? Okay,
It was covered.
thank you. Do we have any?
Chair Asadrian, we have no callers, no more cards.
All right, seeing no other items, do I have an adjournment? A motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn?
Second.
All right. Next.
All right. Next. As the header is prepared, we'll just start. Next, welcome, and I call to order the joint meeting of the Glendale City Council and the Glendale Housing Authority for May 20th, 2025. May we have a roll call for the council?
Council members Asadrian,
Here?
Brotman,
Here.
Garpetian, Kasakian,
Here.
and Mayor Najarian.
Here.
Sorry,
Oh, and for the Housing Authority?
Authority members Ajinian,
Here.
Brotman,
Here.
Garpetian, Kasakian, Najarian,
Here.
Parazian,
Here.
and Chair Asadrian.
Here.
May we have your report?
Posting of the agenda for the Tuesday, May 20th, 2025 joint public meeting of the City Council and Housing Authority was posted on May 16th, 2025 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
And would you read the first item, please?
Item number 1 is community development regarding approval of appropriate affordable housing funds in the support of Metro Loma Apartments, an affordable housing project located at 328 Mira Loma Avenue, currently in default and under threat of first mortgage foreclosure. Housing Authority motion authorizing purchase of first deed trust loan held by CCRC. 2, City Council resolution appropriation in the amount of $1,373,891. And number 3, City Council motion authorizing release of funds.
Thank you. Mr. Galanian.
Yes, good afternoon again, Mayor Najarian, members council, Chair Asaturian, members of the Housing Authority. I'm just going to turn it over to Mike Fortney, our Deputy Director of Community Development in charge of housing.
Thank you, City Manager. Good afternoon, Mayor Najarian and council members. Afternoon to Housing Authority Chair Asatrian and all the Housing Authority board members. Mike Fortney, Deputy Director of Housing. The item before you today is Metro Loma. There we go, good. There's a picture of the front entrance of the building. I can get into background, but I was really going to focus this presentation on the action today because we've been before you in closed session and in open session, I think 4 times in just the last few months. So I'm sure you guys are very familiar with this project. But just quickly, it's a 44-unit, 100% affordable project. It's been in service since 2009. It targets area median income of 30 to 60%. Housing Authority owns the land. It's been operating at a negative cash flow. Negative cash flow last year was $200,000. CCRC owns the first lien on the property. Wentwood, it's Metro Loma LP is technically the legal owner, but it's Wentwood that is the borrower and lessee. They are exiting California, so all of the projects that they owned that were profitable, they sold them. Those that were underwater, including Metro Loma, they chose to default on the first mortgage loan. So the first mortgage loan to CCRC has not been paid since November. We had a temporary fix that we brought to you in early March where we would make that loan current, and we had an additional 5 months, and we were going to pay for some immediate repairs to the project. However, since then, CCRC has already initiated the foreclosure process. So we did not draw down any of the $376,000 that we were authorized to draw down in March.
Did you get it?
There it goes. So to go through the loans real quick, again, CCRC is in first position. Original loan amount is $1.89 million. The payoff for that loan now is $1.527 million. Glendale Housing Authority has 2 loans on it, totaling just over $5 million. And then the Los Angeles County Development Authority, LACDA, they have a loan of $1,472,000 on the project. Both Glendale loans and the LACDA loan are residual receipts loans. So what staff is proposing to do now is, and this is staff from the city as well as the county, we put together a long-term fix for the project, what we think is a long-term fix for the project. And that'll not only prevent foreclosure, it'll protect the affordability covenants, and then we're hoping that long-term, the project will be feasible. What we did was, we came up with a formula. Our total contribution that we're proposing for this project right now is $2,255,014. The formula we came up with was Glendale Housing Authority at 77.6% and LACDA at 22.4%. Those percentages are based on the amounts of our loans in the project now. So our loan of roughly $5 million versus their loan of roughly $1.47 million. So this influx of $2.25 million, as well as some rent increases, and then we are anticipating some costs savings when we bring on the new developer. A combination of all of those things, we believe will make the project financially feasible. And when it comes to rent increases, I can't give you specifics now. We're still negotiating, or we're trying to bring on 2 developers. We're talking with 2 different developers. We hope to bring on one of them for a long-term lessee position and borrower position. So we need to still work out exactly how the rent increases are going to be. But what we're looking at doing is kind of looking at it in 3 tranches. We have the rent-burdened tenants, the very low-income tenants, some of which pay more than 30% of their gross income to rent. We want to give them the least amount of rent increases we can. It's possible, it's even likely that they wouldn't get a rent increase this year, and it's potentially possible that they wouldn't get a rent increase for 2 or 3 years. Then you have the folks that are still within the income range that we're targeting, but they're not rent burdened. So they will get a rent increase that I don't want to say a modest rent increase, but I don't want to throw out a number either, but it's going to be a rent increase because this project hasn't really seen any rent increases since 2020. They finally raised rents last year, but it wasn't enough, obviously, to get the project financially feasible. And then we have another group of tenants who are high-income earners. They earn well over 60%, well over 120%, in some cases earn over $200,000 a year that are living in this property. So we are going to propose a substantial rent increase for those tenants as part of our strategy to make this project financially feasible. Part of the problem with having the higher income earners in your project, number one, they're still paying the affordable rents, but it affects our property tax exemption. So the county assesses that every year. So it may be that we raise rents enough that the higher earners may seek shelter elsewhere. And in that case, we would bring somebody in that was actually income qualifying, and we would recover some of our tax exemption. So this budget here is what we've put together. Originally, what we were going to do is staff, our Glendale and the county, we were going to run the pro forma or the pro rata numbers all the way down the board. But we made the decision last week. It would be much cleaner and easier if the Housing Authority was the sole purchaser of the note. So Glendale's purchasing the note under our proposal, and then LACTA is funding fully the P&A reserve and the transition reserve, and then the rest of the reserves and the associated costs are on that pro rata formula. So the aggregate amount that's going into the project, the $1.74 million that we're asking from the Housing Authority, which includes the $376,000 that you've already approved. I lost my train of thought. So, now I understand. So the aggregates are based on that 77.6%, that 22.4% pro rata that I shared before. So, and then I can get into some of these line items if you'd like. The P&A reserve, we had a property assessment done on it, and it called out about $220,000 worth of immediate repairs for the project. So that 240 is that 220 plus about a 10% contingency. Transition reserve, this is a reserve that we're trying to anticipate any lost revenue or any additional costs in the transition period from taking out the old lessee and bringing on the new lessee. Projects always have a replacement reserve and an operating reserve. Currently, the project has a 60,000 roughly balance of 60,000 in the replacement reserve. We are proposing to put another $110,000 into it. That would get the project to where it should be in terms of its replacement reserves. So that's $250 per unit per year, $250 per month for 17 years. Operating reserve, again, this is a small amount that we're asking. It's $27,500. That would go in addition to the approximate $50,000 that the project already has in its operating reserve. The transaction fee, we're trying to bring on a new developer, and we're trying to make this attractive enough for them to come on and take over lessee/borrower position and manage the project. So we want to cover, we don't want them to come out of pocket in order to do this. So that transaction fee is the amount we anticipate that would go to the new developer to cover their costs, hiring a new resident manager, new office, all the utilities, all the costs that they would incur. And then we just put in that dollar amount for closing costs and contingency. So grand total for the project, we think $2.255 million, of which Glendale's share would be $1.74 million. And again, today we're only asking for $1,373,891 because we're backing out the $376,000 that you approved in March. So with that, I'm happy to answer your questions.
Thank you, Mike. We, I mean, just so everyone knows, this has come to closed session for several rounds.
Yes.
And we have been briefed and have learned about this. It's been probably about 2 months, I think, or maybe more. So what you're saying is certainly something we've heard before. To members of the public who maybe aren't as experienced in understanding this financial component of this, can I stated in just a few sentences, and you correct me if I'm wrong, that we gave a loan for the construction of this low-income housing. A loan, an operator began to manage the building. The operator was losing money. We've heard some of the reasons was he wasn't raising his rents appropriately during the COVID time. He decided to jump and bail out of this, leading the lender to threaten foreclosure. If a foreclosure occurs, that building is taken away from us, our loans are extinguished as a second and a third loan due to the nature of foreclosure, and we would most likely see all the affordability of that building gone. It would be a market rate building. What you proposed to us and what you informed us is that if we jump in, as we're doing now, buy that loan that is being defaulted on and begin the management with our partner, LACDA, kicking in their appropriate share that they had on the third loan, the third trust deed, and we're taking it over with the main goal to preserve the affordability of that building with some, of course, rent modifications to make sure it's a not profitable, but it's a enterprise that is not losing money and failing like it was before. Does that pretty much put it, did I leave out anything that's important in that?
I would agree with everything that you said. I would just say that in case of foreclosure, we would lose the affordability covenants, no doubt about it. It's potential that we could get repaid part of our loans, but it's not guaranteed.
Okay.
Other than that, I agree with everything you say.
Some in the public have said this is a bailout and that we're bailing out the person, what was the name of the entity? that
Wentwood?
Metroloma LP.
Metroloma LP
Metroloma.
technically, but
That
Wentwood,
we're
yeah.
bailing them out. And looking at it, one might think, oh, well, we're putting city money in and we're bailing them out. But at least in my mind, and I think many of my colleagues, and they can speak to that, the entire purpose is to preserve affordability in a housing market that is devastatingly difficult for those to find affordable.
That's exactly our goal at the staff level, and I think we love it.
Mr. Brown?
Yeah, I was actually going to do the same thing, so I'm glad you did what you did. But I would say, yeah, to those who say this is a bailout, I think Metroloma LP, which is the defaulting party, is transferring their loan to us. I think the extent of the bailout they're getting is $100. And that's just the transaction fee or something. We had to put some dollar amount legally to be able to transfer that loan to us. So there is no bailout as far as the borrower lessee is concerned. To the extent the project is being bailed out, we're bailing out ourselves to some extent because we could potentially lose our own loan, as you just said. And we are preserving, 44 units that are currently affordable and would not be affordable, and that is that serves an important public interest. So, yeah, I think that just needs to be said. And also the loans that we're making, this money is not just being handed over to somebody. These are loans that we're making into the project that do accrue interest, and over time, as long as the project is successful, which I think we can make sure it is, we'll get that money back. So this is a win-win. And the last thing I want to say is, thank God we have you, because this is very complicated. There are a lot of parties to this. Parties, at least a couple of them, who were not very cooperative as you were going through this. I know you had to, what's the term? You kind of had to move around your position, as things changed. And thank you, because it would have been easy to just see this thing collapse. So really, really appreciate the work you do.
I appreciate that, Councilmember Brotman, I really do. Peter Zovak was also very heavily.
Yes, of course,
Pam
Peter's
Jackson, Aaron
always there.
Brownell.
Yeah.
And I have to give a shout out to LA County, LACTA, who's been working with us also on all of this and has done a lot of heavy lifting. A gal named Ann and a gentleman named Andrew at the county have been really intricate on this too. And I think it should be said too that the county is doing exactly what we're doing. Their share is smaller, but they see the value in bailing out the project, not the developer.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Comments from anyone else? Are there any public speakers?
Mayor, there is a public speaker, Beth Brooks.
Yeah, I didn't see in the presentation how many of the apartments out of the 44 are actually affordable, and is that like HUD affordability that they have Section 8? Or it's just, as far as rents are concerned, they're considered affordable in a certain, scale? Because I think from one meeting I was at in March, I think it was half of the apartments. I think it was 22 out of 44, I think. But I didn't see anything here as to, it's one thing, and I understand now it's not a bailout. I understand, and you're right, to take it over, but it's another to say, because we want to preserve affordability, when, most people are living in unaffordable rents, in the city of Glendale. Is it 5 apartments? Is it 10 apartments? Is it 22? I would just be interested to know what you're talking about, because there's also a 10% cap, I believe, in California as to how much you can raise the rent anyway. So you're only going to get 10% out of, the people who make $200,000 or more. They're still going to just pay 10% more, and they didn't pay anything for 5 years. So as far as I know, they said from 2020 to 2025, they didn't get a rental increase. So I would just like to know how many affordable apartments are you actually saving with this? I think you have to do it, but I think it's important to know the number. Thank you.
Yes, and Mr. Brotman. Do you have the answers?
They're
Or should we
they're
ask?
all affordable, 100%. It's a 100% affordable project. It's complicated how affordability works. I would prefer to be able to explain this to you sometime offline, but I can do that, and I'm happy to do that. But they are all affordable units, 100%. And we are not subject, affordable projects are not subject to the same rent caps and all that. So you mentioned 10%. It's very different, but it's complicated and not something we can really explain now. But your questions are always very good ones, and they're genuine questions, and I would like to be able to answer them so you don't come back again and again and ask the same question.
That's correct. And I just want to add that although these aren't Section 8 affordable, there are some residents, I believe, who have Section 8 and who have the affordable unit. So it's a double win for those who are fortunate to have both of those. Okay, thank you. So we have a couple housing authority resolutions and a council resolution. I'll move the housing authority motion authorizing the purchase of the first deed trust loan.
I'll second that.
All right, roll call.
Councilmember Asadrian,
Yes.
Brotman,
Yes.
Garpetian, Kasakian, and Mayor Najarian.
Yes,
That was, is that the housing authority motion you made?
that was housing authority motion. So we have 2 more votes to take.
Right, but he didn't take roll for housing, for the housing
For
authority.
council.
He took roll for the council.
Okay, so let's add the 2 housing.
Authority Member Ajinian
Yes.
and Perazzian.
Yes.
Okay. Next are the 2 council items, the resolution and the motion.
I'll move both.
Second.
Roll call?
Councilmember Asadrian,
Yes.
Brotman,
Yes.
Garpetian, Kasakian,
Yes.
and Mayor Najarian.
Yes. Is there a motion to adjourn for council?
So moved.
Second.
Council's adjourned?
Motion to adjourn for the housing authority?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Adjourn.
For each, well, sometimes. technically, it's an action that needs to be. Yeah, I don't think the chair can unilaterally adjourn the meeting. I mean, technically, it's a motion.
Technically, although to Councilman Brotman's point, I have seen it done in other jurisdictions
just-
where the chair just adjourns the meeting.
It is done. The problem is that if there's an item where people want to continue discussing or certain council members want, it's a procedural thing. I mean,
Someone can object,
it could be contentious and then you have to take a vote.
and I'd have to look it up.
Okay. Okay, let's move on to our special meeting of the Glendale City Council, May 20th, 2025. May we have roll call?
Councilmember Asadrian,
Here.
Brotman,
Here.
Karpetian, Kasakian,
Here,
Mayor Najarian.
Here, may we have your report?
The agenda for the Tuesday, May 20th, 2025 special public meeting of the City Council is posted on May 16th, 2025 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
And will you please read the first item?
Community development regarding public hearing for Stage 1 preliminary design review case number PDR 0033302024 to construct a new 20-unit, 6-story mixed-use building with 21 parking spaces on an approximately 9,064 square foot site located at 340 North Central Avenue in DSP Zone, Orange Central District, DSP OC. A motion to approve Stage 1 preliminary design review. Mayor, I do have 2 cards for this item.
Okay, Mr. Golanian.
Yes, Mayor Najarian, member City Council, I'll just go directly to Eileen Babakani, our senior planner, for the presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Golanian. Good
This is
afternoon,
a
Mayor
public hearing.
Najarian. May I start?
So I will open the public hearing.
That's what I thought.
Sorry?
It's okay. Good afternoon, Councilmember, Mayor Najarian, staff, members of public. The case is a Stage 1 preliminary design review application with the case number PDR-003330-2024 for the project address as 340 North Central Avenue. The project is proposing to demolish the existing commercial surface parking lot, which is approximately 9,000 square feet in area, in order to construct a new 6-story mixed-use building, including a 960 square foot retail space on the first floor and 20 residential units on the floors above. The building will have a total of 26,287 square feet in floor area with 1 level of subterranean parking garage. For the residential unit breakdown, the project will provide 10 one-bedroom units, 7 two-bedroom units, and 3 three-bedroom units. It also provides a total of 21 parking spaces, including 7 parking spaces at the ground floor and 14 parking spaces within the proposed 1-level subterranean parking garage. Per zoning code, the project is required to provide a minimum of 35 parking spaces, and it has qualified for the parking reduction pursuant to the provisions of AB 2097. The project also provides 4 bicycle parking spaces, while it is required to provide 1 bicycle parking space. The project provides private balconies and 2 rooftop decks as common outdoor space for the use of the future resident of the building, and the total area of the common outdoor space is around 6,000 square feet. The project site is located mid-block on the east side of Central Avenue between Lexington Drive and California Avenue. There's a public alley to the east side of the project site. The site is located in the Downtown Specific Plan Orange Central District. The surrounding adjacent zoning includes DSP Orange Central District on the north, south, and east side of the subject site, and DSP Transitional District are the zoning designation for the properties across Central Avenue to the west side. The site is adjacent to the Consulate General of the Republic of Armenia, which is a 2-story building located to the north side of the subject site. According to the 2017 South Glendale Historic Survey evaluation, the building was identified as eligible for the listing in the historic resources in national, California, and local level because the building is an excellent example of a Spanish colonial revival commercial architecture in South Glendale. The area surrounding the project site is developed with high-density, multifamily residential buildings and commercial buildings, including retail, restaurant, and general and medical offices. Can you move the slide for me? Thank you. 5, please. Thank you so much. The proposed building is rectangular in design and occupies the majority of the site. The main entry to the retail space and residential lobby are facing Central Avenue. Vehicular access to the parking garages will be provided from the rear alley and will include 2 driveways, one to the subterranean parking garage and a separate driveway to the at-grade parking garage. The project site features a mixed-use commercial street designation. Projects along mixed-use commercial streets require to provide a minimum of 18-foot street setback from the street curb. The project complies with setback requirement and provide a total of minimum 18-foot street setback from the street curb. It also provides a 2-foot wide alley dedication at the rear of the property to comply with the Public Works Department requirements for the alley dedication. Also, the building provides a 12 feet and 3 inches rear setback after the building wall provides 12 feet and 3 inches rear setback after alley dedication at the rear of the property. Additionally, the project provides side setbacks varies from 3.5 feet to 7 feet from the side, north and south side, in order to provide distances from neighboring properties. On this slide, you can see the first floor and also highlighted area in blue and green are basically the setback areas that are open to sky. This slide shows the site layout and here on the, and also the roof plan. And here on this slide, you can see the highlighted area in green that shows the area that are open to sky. Basically, there are setback from the rear and side and that are provided for this project site. The proposed FAR for this project is 2.98 and the building height is 83 feet and 6 inches and an FAR of 3.0 and building height of 95 feet are the maximums for the projects by right in the DSP Orange Central District. The maximum allowed density for this project site is 20 units and the project is proposing 20 units. On this slide, we have the 3D renderings showing the front and side facades of this proposed design. Many DSP standards, including open space requirements, do not apply to this project because the project is smaller than other DSP projects. Projects compliance with each applicable DSP standard has been analyzed in the staff report. The project has appropriately incorporated the required height and facade modulations into the design, which add visual interest to both the skylight as well as the street level, as it provides a commercial space on the ground floor. Of the 4 available options for the DSP design standards, the project has incorporated a corner feature by providing a 10-foot height differentiation with a different color and material for the corner feature. Also, in order to meet the DSP design requirement, the project provides an upper level step back of 15 feet along the street frontage for the 4th, 5th, and 6th floor. This setback also helps the proposed building align with the adjacent 2-story historic building. In compliance with the DSP standards, the project provides a visible and delineated roofline featuring landscaping planters to add visual interest to the skyline. Also in compliance with the DSP required facade modulation, the project provides a clearly delineated building base, middle, and top, each featuring different color, material, and textures. And here on this slide, we have the 3D renderings showing the rear and side facades to show the articulations, building colors, and materials. The project's Stage 1 design is consistent with the DSP design standards since it features a variation of different materials, colors, and textures. Also, it features articulation, recessed and visible building entrance, recessed balconies and canopies in compliance with the DSP standards. The building colors and materials are consistent throughout and represent a contemporary design concept. A detailed look to the building materials, fenestration details, any gate, lighting plan, signage, recessed storefront, paving material, also location of utilities, street improvements requirement, and landscaping will be reviewed and finalized during the Stage 2 final design review. Also, environmental review is not required for Stage 1 design review. The environmental review will be prepared and presented to City Council at Stage 2 design review. In conclusion of my presentation, the proposed Stage 1 is largely consistent with the design standard for DSP. Also, so staff recommends the City Council approve the Stage 1 of this project. Staff received one public comment from a tenant of the adjacent commercial building to the south, and the comment was provided for you for your review and consideration. With that, I conclude my presentation, and staff is available for any question.
Thank you. Did you say this will go to design review, or this is the design review? We're acting as design review because
So
it's...
the next step, if it is approved here, will be the advisory design review board, and it will come back to you for Stage 2.
There was a project planned on this site several years ago. 4 years ago, maybe?
2020?
5 years? And there were some concerns, I raised some concerns about the proximity to the historic building. Has there been any discussion on that or any thought of what?
According to the information I received, the design at that time was a totally different design concept, and it was not providing any setback. And the project was presented to City Council for Stage 1 and Stage 2 combined together, with a different concept, with a different applicant, different design.
If I can get clarification. I have a similar question. I don't know if that quite, it doesn't answer it clearly enough for me. I remember when that project came to council, there was issues with proximity, with construction, with vibrations because of the proximity of the historic structure. So specifically, what has changed between that project and this one?
So, Councilmember Kasakian, the previous design, as I mentioned, its environmental review was done as part of Stage 1 and Stage 2. This project, we are in Stage 1 of review. We didn't get to the environmental review for this project yet. That will be reviewed in Stage 2. And then any impact to the adjacent historic building can be reviewed during the environmental review. Besides, according to the review that I have done for the previous project had only 6 inches distance between the new and adjacent building to the historic building to the north. This proposal before us provided significant interior or side distances from the neighboring property to the north, which, according to the DSP standard, providing interior setback or side setback is not required, but the project is providing that distances, as I showed on the site plan if I go back.
Mayor and council members, if I may also add, this project would not be permitted, would not make it through building permit phase if it was not able to satisfy those concerns. There are certain engineering requirements, building permit requirements to protect vibration, protect the integrity of the building next door. And as Ms. Babakani did state, there is a larger separation between these two buildings than there was last time.
And how much is that separation?
So what I noticed here on this drawing, we have the separation starting from 3.5 feet to, as I see on this drawing, 12 feet.
I mean, but at
So
some
it
point here,
varies.
but at some point right here, just looking at what's the slide that's up, where it looks like the building goes right up to the property line. That green area you're saying is just setback, and it's about 3, I can't read, I'm sorry. Even with my reading glasses, it's difficult to read. So it kind of cuts in and out simply to have that separation.
Appears to be like, yes, you're right, Councilman.
All right.
Okay. Staff likes the design?
Um,
Can you go to slide 9, please?
Sure. So the DSP design standards are outlined in the standard about what is the setback requirement, what are the options for modulation, setbacks, height, or creation different materials and textures. This meets the DSP standards. However, the taste and the design, we like it or not liking it, it's not for me to say that.
Right.
Can I make a comment on that, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
So as you might recall, all you might recall, over the last few years, the DSP standards have been modified to have more objectivity in compliance with the Housing Accountability Act. So when staff is looking at these projects, what they're doing is comparing the project to those objective design standards and making recommendations based on that, which is why perhaps the recommendations probably flow a little bit differently than they do in past years regarding design.
I think
So-
I think the mayor is making a reference to
Making
the
a point.
monolith.
I really am, I am not happy with the monolith. I mean, anybody see 2001 Space Odyssey?
I got your reference.
I know you have, you're different. It's just, it's out there, it's blocky, it's black, it's completely juxtaposed to the articulation that's presented, both vertical and horizontal, in the building itself. So in terms of massing, and what's the other criteria?
We have modulations, we have
Modulation.
massing.
I'm not happy with that, I'll be honest with you. I think, the rest of the building, I don't mind. But what is that? What is that? Anyway, that's just me. That's just me, right?
Mayor Najarian, one of the things you can do here is obviously give some conditions or for things for them to work on in the meantime. What I will say is that being that this is part of the exit stairwell, if not mistaken, there's certain fire rating that is required. So we will end up with kind of this large blank wall, if you will, because it is expected that at some point that property next to it would also develop and then would obviously cover and conceal that. So anything coming right up to that property line.
Or that whole wall becomes an art piece.
That was my next recommendation, was going to be a
like
mural, potentially. If you look at Next on Lex across the street, they actually have a large stairwell that faces the Citibank, or former Citibank property. They actually came back and put a mural on that. We could also look at that as part of a solution.
So, because it's phase one, what are we allowed to comment on and what are we not? Because I'm,
You can comment on the design.
Scale and mass.
This hearing is largely about the massing and the scaling of the building, as well as kind of the physical components, I guess you could say. Not so much the materials. They have provided that information. Obviously, council can give your input now if you'd like to. That way they can go ahead and start working on that. But this is primarily about the site planning and the massing of the building.
okay.
I actually kind of like it, so I don't know. It's a matter of taste. I think it's going to be something you notice. Maybe from your point of view in a bad way. From my point of view, it's kind of going to create some interest. And I love the idea of, I was thinking the exact same thing. I was going to say it, get a mural on there. Otherwise, I think it's fine. And yeah, I mean, we definitely don't want to do anything to just, harm the historic building next to it. So I'm going to trust that through the environmental review process, we make sure that we take a close look at that. But the only other thing I'm thinking is, I know this is probably stage 2, but the ground floor retail use, I'd just ask staff to consider what's needed in that area. It would be nice if it was something that kind of activated the street that the general public could use, and just use your best influence. I don't think we can dictate it, but I think we can maybe give suggestions. So that's about it. I mean, anytime we can take something that's housing for cars and making it housing for people, I think we're doing the right thing.
Gene Siskel,
All right.
Mr. Kasakian.
No, I, just because I got your movie reference. I mean, honestly, I'll tell you what I like about what's been proposed. I like the fact that there appears to at least be significant setback of the sidewalk, because I believe strongly that Central and Brand should preserve wide sidewalks and widen sidewalks in areas where they're not wide as much as possible. They are major pedestrian thoroughfares and in our downtown, so I appreciate that. On the overall design, you know, I'm not too crazy about it, but I'm not completely against it either. However, my bigger concern is just still the proximity to the historical building next to it, which I think is an iconic building, whether it was the consulate offices for the Republic of Armenia or not. That's a very recognizable, eye-catching, a distinctive building. The other challenge I have is I'm looking at this and I'm getting, post-traumatic stress flashbacks of other projects that have been constructed on Central. And the reason I say that is because on just north of here, there's a building that I've spoken to Mr. Calvert about. It has scaffolding up. I've noticed pieces and tiles falling off that building. I am just concerned. And again, I remember there were council members who served on this dais who had a better understanding of construction. My concern is that we're not bringing forward the best possible designs and products that our downtown deserves. This would be fine perhaps in other areas, but I know the architect is fully capable of giving a more interesting and iconic building. This honestly just looks like anything else that was approved prior to my time on the council, and I just have great difficulty approving something like this myself. And it's not because I realize fully that something has to go there. We should not have vacant lots, whatever we decide to put there. And lastly, I think, I don't know what the plans are for the first floor, but I do believe we need to have some sort of pedestrian and street level engagement with the public on a corner. I mean, Phoenicia has done very well on the other side of the street. I'm sure some of the stores that maybe are, struggling or may eventually transition may be replaced with things that would bring more vibrancy. We've seen some activity there. I would like to see something that encourages that. So that's it. I mean, I guess I can sum up my feelings by saying that they're mixed.
Any other comments?
I can add mine. I think I just commented that I hate it is the easiest way for me to go. I just, even like from the side when I'm looking at those windows, it's not just the front and how blocky it is. I've commented time and again about it just feels like a bunch of cement when you're walking down Central. I would want the ground floor to be a usable pedestrian-friendly look to it. Again, I don't mind a wall like that if, part of the condition would be that there's art on it that kind of covers it up and makes it interesting. The other part is, given the proximity, I don't know what it looks like on the other side, but how building this massive thing next to that property, how does it affect the lighting? Are there windows on the other side? Are they gonna not have light coming in anymore? You feel,
Yes,
it looks like you're gonna
Councilmember
answer.
Sadrian, let me go back to the site plan and show you the layout. Okay, This is the first floor or ground floor. And if the Consulate General of the Republic of Armenia, the building layout is in orange, highlighted in orange, that's basically the footprint of the building. The rest is the parking or open space. If you look at that green highlighted area, the little green highlighted area, there is a window there that the designer tried to keep the opening in front of that window. And the distance that the drawing shows is 5 feet from the property line or from the building wall. This is for the first floor. Moving to the second floors and above, we have more open space now. And all this green area to the north of the building, that's basically the distance that the design provides from the building to the north, the historic building to the north.
Okay. Have you has the applicant had conversations with the consulate office? Have we heard from them at all?
Maybe that question can be directed to the applicant. I'm not sure about that.
Have we heard from the consulate office? Are they aware that this project is?
I didn't hear anything. We didn't receive any comments or any
We don't usually
question.
notify the neighbors around?
We did the 500-foot radius notification was sent out.
Okay. And no response?
No response.
Okay.
Okay, we have some speakers. Let's hear the speakers, and we can take this up again for discussion.
Thank you, Mayor. We have Garo Nazarian.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Board Council members. My name is Garo Nazarian. I am the designer of the project. This project that is presented to you, it's done all but right. No incentives, no variance, no deviation from the code is requested. And we did design, even this project that it's qualified for a bonus density, incentives to have more units, but we didn't use that. We are just going 100 units per acre, that it gives me 20 units. And the height of the building, that it's it is 83 feet, where the 95 feet it's allowed. And if I go with the incentives, the height limit, it jumps to 250 feet. But we don't, because we understand that big project, it won't fit in this area. So we're proposing just by the right project that provides all, even though the project is qualified for parking reduction by AB 2097, which means by zero parking spaces, we are providing 21 parking spaces, because the parking, it's very important for the residential units. And the construction, it's just one standard, one level subterranean excavation, which the soil report is in process to give I will get the recommendation from the soil engineer, to design the way the structure that won't affect the historical building. That it's in the process, and that on the stage 2, I will provide that document. And this project, it's condominium project. It's not a rental, it's a condominium project to provide ownership units, to the residents of the area. And as mentioned by the Eileen, the FAR, the height, everything, it's below the maximum that is allowed without incentives. The lot has subject to dedication 2 feet from the alley side to widening the alley and 3 feet from the central side to satisfy the DSP requirement, which is 5 feet parkway, 10 feet sidewalk, and 3 feet building line. So that front setback, it's 18 feet 2 inches, which we are providing.
Just a
that.
moment, Mr. Nazar. Because you're the applicant, I'm going to give you 2 more minutes.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And the ground floor is designed, because this lot is only 50 feet wide, the ground floor, it has been designed by 2 elements, just residential units lobby and commercial component. The commercial component is occupying more than 50% of the frontage, and with the canopy requirement, I provide two canopies. One is for the commercial use, which is a commercial canopy, and the other one for the residential. It's totally different. It's appropriate for the residential units. And garage entry is from the alley. No fence wall or gate. It's proposed on the central side, just from the alley. I have 2 driveways that's leading to the surface parking and the subterranean garage, which that design of the gates, it's incorporated by the building design. And all the building, the variation of the building materials and the colors, emphasize the base of the building with a split face concrete block wall, and the upper 2 levels with masonite sidings, and upper level again with the siding and the stucco, different colors, different materials. And the balconies facing to Central Street, Central Avenue are clear glass panels, which enhance the project. And the setbacks after, above the 40 feet of height, the building is set back additional 15 feet, which it provides nice open space that the building doesn't impose to the public right of way.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Nazarian. I have a question. What, the big black thing that I've been referring to, what is in there? Is that a stairwell?
That is a stairway, yes.
Is there any opportunity to change that, the dimensions of that, or that's what it has to be?
And the dimensions, I can change it because the stairway has a minimum requirement, and by enlarging that, I have to cut from the unit's floor area. But the color and the windows on the stairways could be changed. If you don't like the color, we can change the color. But the dimensions...
Is there an elevator shaft in that also, or it's just
Yes,
stairwell?
elevator and the stairway.
Stairs and elevator shaft, okay. Okay, any questions of the architect? Mr. Brown?
Sorry, maybe I'll ask staff this question. I just wanted to ask about this letter that we got, if you could just talk about any of this, but I'll ask staff about
And
that.
for that public input that you received, it says not the building doesn't block, to create the blind corner in the alley side. But he didn't recognize the building, it's set back from the actual today's alley, it's set back 14 feet. 2 feet setback for enlarging, and that stairway that you see in the back, it's set back another 12 feet from that new property line. And that is because I have the electrical overhead wires. I have to keep clear. I cannot go closer. So that comment, it doesn't apply to this project. You know, I have the 12 feet from the alleyway setback.
So, may I ask a question?
Yeah, I'm done.
So on this image that we're seeing right now, Mr. Nazarian, on the image that's on the left-hand side, those openings, they are simply open air walkways to front doors?
That on the
They're not-
ground
they're not
level you are
balconies,
talking,
correct?
they are the driveway accesses. One, it goes to the subterranean.
No, not the two openings that go downstairs. I see those. But above, they look like balconies, but those, are they
They are the
balconies?
walkways, you
They're
know,
walkways,
balconies
yeah,
to
exactly.
access
Okay.
to the units.
All right.
Because the property is only 50 feet wide. You know, it's impossible to design interior corridors.
Sure.
So should be exterior corridor to accommodate the unit
Understood,
sizes.
understood. And that's what I thought they were. I just wanted to be sure because there was some discussion of balconies and I see where the balconies were. I just wanted to make sure. Again, I am not an architect or designer. You had mentioned that this structure could have been 250 feet higher than what is being proposed by your client?
The total height of the building, if we go by incentives, is 245 feet allowed.
Allowed. And how many stories is that potentially?
Actually, the story doesn't talk about the story, but the number of the units could be doubled, 40 units.
But with
instead-
250 feet height, what are we? Is that like-
25 stories.
No. it wouldn't.
250, let's say about 10 story
Would be 10 stories.
minimum.
But would you still be able to do 10 stories on podium construction, or would it then have to be steel?
Ben, with my knowledge, you know, I saw that it's kind of impossible. You know, it's very hard to build a 10-story building there. So for that, I didn't.
Why specifically? I'm just
Because
curious.
you know, the project, I would like to provide at least one parking space per unit. By adding more units, it means that I have to excavate one more level to provide additional parkings. And as the project is close to the historical building, I don't want to do that, to excavate 2 levels below the street level. And it will be very impossible, you know, project at the 10-story building in that corner next to the 2-story of the historical building.
Thank you. I just wanted to be clear because I think that the way you said it, and I'm sure it wasn't your intention, it was almost as though, well, we could have done this, but we're doing a more modest proposal. But the reality of it is the costs of construction, if it was steel, would probably not allow it to pencil out if you went from one type of construction to another. But as you mentioned also, there's added expense of going further subterranean for additional parking, which also, so I mean, this is more or less what works in this site.
Not only the expenses, but just even considering the historical building adjacent.
Vibrations or any other.
Vibration,
I understand.
everything.
Thank you, Mr. Nazarian. Next speaker?
Mayor, the next speaker is Chris Sarian. Mayor, would that be 3 minutes?
Good afternoon, Honorable Mayor and council members. My name is Chris Sarian. I'm here with my brother, David Sarian. We're the owners of this property in question. Our families have been long-term members of the Glendale community. My father, brother, and I are dentists. My brother and I were educated through the public school system and are alumni of the USC School of Dentistry. We have served this community through our dental practices in Glendale and Tahunga. This proposed 20-unit condominium is not a speculative investment. For us, it's deeply personal, passionate, and this is something that we wanted to do for a while now. We're not developers by trade. This project represents our commitment to giving back to the city that shaped our lives and our careers. What makes our project different is that we're not really asking for any incentives, variances, or deviations. We have adhered strictly to the zoning code and the downtown specific plan. We've worked We've worked collaboratively with city staff to ensure their design respects all required setbacks, open space requirements, and architectural standards. So based on what you guys were saying earlier regarding not liking the building, I could see where you guys are coming from, but I want to make you guys are sure that we've been working on this for a while now. We're trying to get it to look nicer, mainly to work with the Armenian consulate next door. And to answer your earlier question, we are in contact with the Armenian consulate. This is something that we've been working with them hand in hand, so they're aware of our design, of our building and everything. Equally important is our deep respect for the cultural and historic significance of the neighboring Armenian consulate. As proud Armenian Americans, we have taken special care to ensure that our project honors and highlights the character and dignity of that building. Our design protects its visibility and enhances its surroundings, and we view it as a privilege to be building such an important cultural site next door. In terms of community benefit, we are proud to offer a unit that mixes 1, 2, and 3 bedroom homes, ideal for individuals, couples, and growing families who want to live and thrive in beautiful downtown Glendale. All 20 homes are designed for ownership, which is pretty rare in today's housing environment. Beyond this project, we're also founders of Access to Care. It's a nonprofit organization that provides free dental services to families of Armenian soldiers who were wounded or lost their lives during the 44-day war. We've been in the entitlement process with the city for nearly 3 years. During that time, we've remained patient and engaged because we believe in doing this the right way. I personally know families, close friends, who lost their homes during the devastating fires of January 2025. Many of them are still struggling to find suitable housing, and we see this project as part of the solution. In closing, we respectfully ask for your support and approval. This project is thoughtfully designed, code compliant, and deeply connected to the people who live here. It's built by locals for locals, with care, integrity, and a long-term vision for Glendale. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Okay, any other speakers?
Mayor, no speakers and no callers for this item.
Okay, so let's go back to see other comments. Councilmember Asaturi.
The Consulate General noted that he hasn't received any notice of this project. If staff can just either connect with them to make sure that whoever is handling it from their end is aware. I don't know what the process was. They may have just gone to the office. And
Their mailing address, Councilmember Astorian, it was included in the mailing address that we send out the notices. So
Okay.
they might be
so
missed
again,
in the
whether,
mail.
and I'm not concentrating on this because it is the consulate. I'm just saying that they're noting that they were unaware, they're not familiar with the specifications of the project and so forth. So if staff can just reach out like we would to any other neighbor that's next door. I think just for the landowners, I would love to see condos. I know we have a lack thereof. I think for me, I don't know if staff can provide some guidance on, I want this project to move forward. I really am not a fan of the design. I don't know what, and I don't want to delay it any further. So what are our options here?
We need probably to act like a design review board now, to have some comments for the design, because site planning can change according to your comments. We can probably ask for more distances and setbacks. The material colors can change according to your comments. I'm not sure if we would like to have a comments on the overall height or stories, because that is going to change the entire concept of the project in terms of the density, units, floor area, and everything else.
Can I make a
Thank you,
comment?
Mr. Soria.
The details for the street improvements, I think you mentioned, Councilmember Sakian, street improvements next to the retail space, have more pedestrian engaged.
Okay.
That is a stage 2, so the programming for the street improvement will be discussed and provided for stage 2. And details, colors for the doors, windows also will be discussed in stage 2. However, now we can also discuss for the size of the openings here. If we don't like the size of the opening, then we find them to be large. Let me move to the front facade. If we think it's large, or we want to see in a different way, different configuration. Those kind of comments maybe can be provided for conditions of stage 1 approval.
Okay, who wants to dive into that? Mr. Brotman?
I mean, I like it. I'm fine with it. I think it's thoughtful, and I think a lot of effort went into making it work in this difficult space. And so the only thing, and I guess this is stage 2, but the architect mentioned the color of that monolith. So yeah, that's something I would like to suggest. They consider something lighter, or even, I don't know. I'm not a design person, so if this doesn't make sense, just forget it. But like, you've got that brick color in the consulate, and you've got the brick color in the building adjacent. I don't know if you could do something to tie those together, whether that makes sense, but I'll just put it out there. And if there's anything else you can do to that monolith with where the windows are or something, and make it look a little bit more human, that would probably be good. But otherwise, I'm happy with it.
Thank you.
Comments?
Again, mixed feelings about it. I understand something has to go there. I just don't feel comfortable voting for something even, again, and you're asking us to act like a design review board and make design suggestions, and I don't feel comfortable doing that either. I mean, there's a reason why we have professional staff that has background in this, is educated in this, and at least should have some sense as to what would make one of our marquee streets in the downtown appealing. Now, that necessarily hasn't been the case when in the past there was a rush to approve projects and have a lot of construction of high-density housing, and I don't know if I am ready to follow on that path. I don't know. I personally would like to see a slightly different design, and again, just the idea that we're fitting and squeezing something in. I understand the need for ownership housing. I appreciate that. But, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, I don't know where I'm at on this. Quite honestly, I don't know if I can, with a clear conscience, vote on this. I've cast too many votes simply to see housing, more housing, but I think this Central and Brand are two very unique streets that we need to be much more thoughtful with.
Can I just briefly interject or make a comment as you're continuing deliberation, Mr. Mayor, members of council? Again, as noted by staff, this is a stage 1 review. The primary focus is on the scale and mass of the project. So that's what they're seeking approval, so they can then go forward to do the environmental review, talk to the DRB for recommendation, and come back to council. So I think that the request is to approve that, and then if you have, council has comments on the particular items that you've raised so far, including the colors, the materials, some of the window openings, whatever the comments may be, then go ahead and provide those, and those will be incorporated into the record when staff goes back and works with the applicant team. I don't know if Mr. Calvert has any other comments.
Will there, since you raised it, will there be an environmental review on this? Or is it
We
exempt?
still have to assess that, Mayor Najarian. What I would say, kind of piggybacking off of both Mr. Garcia's comments and Mr. Kasakian's, there may be things in here that you don't like or have an opinion on. Again, we are looking at massing the scale, but these comments will go into our report to the DRB as we do that advisory check-in, so they may be able to offer some recommendations too. If the council is not comfortable coming up with solutions, they may be able to do that.
Okay, all right.
So I'm going to stick to my original comments. You should have them. I'm just like Mr. Kasakian, I'm not comfortable with starting to redesign this or make recommendations, because I don't even know what that could possibly look like. I do see some opportunity there, right underneath the gray portion or black portion. I do want some sort of pedestrian usable space. There may be something that we can do there. I've always said that it doesn't have to be something big. It can be a patch of grass with a bench, 2 lights. You know, those are the little things that create communities and walkability, so I would leave that to them. I really don't like from the side as you're walking. I could just picture those windows, just the way that they're designed. I don't know even if you can put like the fake balcony. I see I'm like going off and just, I don't know how to help.
Windows, you mentioned like at the second floor window?
Yeah, like the white part
and
on
third
from like the
floor?
side. That would drive me nuts. I see them now on other buildings, and there's nothing there that is pretty to
Mayor
look
and
at.
council
Like I
members-
want to be able to walk and like lift my head up and like enjoy what I'm seeing, and that would not make me have that feeling.
I would summarize this statement with facade articulation. If you're looking for maybe variation of materials, you're saying, the kind of fake Juliet balconies could go in front. You're looking for some sort of relief would be my assumption, and or changing materials, and we can have them look into that, and the DRB can also provide their perspective and possible solutions as well.
Okay, and then because we've been talking about this during the budget sessions, so is there funding that comes through for the Urban Art Fund?
We could talk to
Through
Library
this?
Arts and Culture on that. That is what happened with Next on Lex when they added their mural to their stairwell. They went before the Arts Commission and received an approval on that.
So again, I would say that I would be okay with that long portion as long as part of that includes having some sort of art piece and making it pretty. I would not be okay with, approving future phases if that is not incorporated in there.
And do know, Council, this is not an approval of the project by going through stage 1. This is just to continue the design too.
So,
With regard to the art fund, if I'm not mistaken, the Nexon Lex got credit for that art piece rather than pay into the fund, if I'm not mistaken. Something like that, wasn't it?
I would need to go back and look at that. I believe that was actually an afterthought when they added that mural in, and they had actually done a contribution earlier. But I'll look into the history of that one.
Okay.
whatever makes sense to us. I mean, if we want to use funds for our fund, I don't want to have that fund keep increasing and we have a need for public art. That's all.
Okay, so I'll give my comments. As I stated, I do think that the stairwell tower is a little too much. I'd like to see some articulation. I'd like to see different color scheme for that, not as blocky and okay. I mean, I don't want to say monolith, but not as blocky and leave it at that. The coloring in the picture we have before us, I really like the entrance. I like the setback. I like the coloring of those first 2 stories, story 2 and 3, the off-white, the tan color. I'm not a fan of the white. I think there's a lot of white up and down Central Avenue with the same type of modular appearance. If we can get away from that modular appearance, put some, let me sort of refer to the Harrison, which is further on down Central, which is, it's a much larger building, obviously, but it doesn't look like the Altana and the Onyx and the, what is that other funny name? They've got all those cool names, right? It doesn't look like those. So I'd prefer this building to have that color modulated, not as blocky. The stair tower have something to do, whether it's windows, additional windows, whether it's coloring. I mean, definitely coloring, I would say. I don't like that dark color. That's what I'd be looking for. Now, do I like it at this point? So I'm not sure if I don't like it, but I'm not saying no way, no how, can we ask you to incorporate these comments, look at a design and bring it back to us again? Or are we getting too far ahead of ourselves? We have to agree on the mass and scale, and then you go and do that discussion with the architect on the details.
Mr.
Mayor and council members, I would recommend that moving along so that DRB could weigh in on some of these points as well. They may be able to refine some of your comments, whether it's the facade color, material color, or the actual modulation. That way we could get their lens and their perspective on it. Their review is advisory, so you don't have to take that as an approval, and you could stop the project at a future phase if you wanted to, if findings were there.
We are only talking about mass and scale today.
Correct.
Right? If we're okay with this height, but then we give you all these other comments, that's when you can go figure it out and have this project not stall?
Correct. We would take these
Okay.
comments. I mean,
All
that's why we stated earlier that some of this stuff would still be useful to us. We could start
Okay.
factoring that in now.
Okay. I just, one of my other concerns with that is we've given a lot of comments today with the expectation that these concerns would be addressed. Going down the path of, it goes to design review board, they're making additional investments in this, and then those concerns somehow aren't addressed to the likings of this council. They have now wasted more time through the process and probably more funding and so forth. Is this the best and most like streamlined way to do it? That also saves them time and money? I'm always, I just,
Previously, we actually had a more streamlined process. We did not stop at the DRB. That was a change that was made a few years ago at council's direction. What I would say is that I think there's enough information here. The DRB itself, as well as our staff and working with architects that are familiar with the city, have enough in these comments that we can come up with some alternatives. In some cases, we do have them do that when they come back. They have more than just one alternative. But I am confident that this will keep going if council does pass it along today.
bring us something pretty.
But
Without the
also at
comments.
the same time, I hear as council member Sartorian concerned, if they revise the design to address concern of city council, and then we have this advisory design review, and design review had additional comments and condition, that's gonna take longer time for the applicant.
I don't believe that we'll be asking the applicant to make these changes prior to going to design review. Again, I think we want their perspective and their lens on this from your comments, then they'll make those changes. From there, we can consolidate all of that together so that when we come back with the stage 2, you'll be able to see how they've addressed the comments by the city council in the first round and how they've addressed the comments from the DRB as well.
Okay.
How is our design review board getting along? I know there's some new faces there. Are they exhibiting the expertise that we've placed upon them?
I believe we are moving along efficiently. We do still have one more board member that we do need to get
I
appointed.
mean, this is design stuff that your average,
We have a great
if you had an
design
attorney at
review
the
board.
DRB, I don't think he could help you with this, but.
Our last appointment necessary right now is a licensed architect, so I believe we're still looking for that if there are any licensed architects paying attention today and would like to be on the DRB.
Okay, so would someone like to make a motion then?
And we are moving, how do I
It
word it?
would be a motion to approve stage 1.
Be subject to the council comments given during the hearing. And you need to close the hearing.
I will close the public hearing.
So
Okay,
the
then
motion
I will
approve the
move
stage 1 design
approval of
review.
stage 1 design review with the, taking note of the comments made by the council.
Subject to council comments on the design.
Okay. That.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Councilmember Asadrian?
Yes.
Brotman?
Hold
Yeah.
on, please.
Before we do, I just want to make a couple of additional comments. Again, I'm not crazy about this, so I don't think at this stage I can support it, but of projects that have come before this council, and I wasn't on here when it did, but I believe the nicest one that came before it is one that still isn't completed yet. I hope the end product looks like what the renderings were when they came to us, but I think it was the 515 North Central, the Indigo Hotel, in terms of materials, look, design. It looks like something worthy of the third largest or fourth largest city in the largest county in the country, in its downtown business district. This is not that far from that location, I should add. And then lastly, I know that there was a comment about putting artwork on there. My concern with that is that if you put artwork on the side where there isn't, I don't believe you'll ever have the consulate property torn and redeveloped. But there is the possibility of doing that on the other side, on the south side of the street. I wouldn't want there to be some art element that then causes concern or friction, should it ever come to council to have some sort of development there because of height issues. Anyways, just my thoughts, and we may continue.
Okay, let's start roll call.
Councilmember Al Sadrian,
Yes.
Brotman,
Yes.
Garpetian, Kasakian,
No.
and Mayor Najarian.
I don't love it, but I'm going to give him a chance to fix it. Yes. Okay, let's adjourn unless there's any objections.
I'll
No
move to adjourn.
objections. We have one more meeting to tee up. Thank you. Okay, I call to order
B, conference with real property negotiators regarding proposed acquisition of 1000 South Central Avenue. C, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, Edwards versus City of Glendale. D, conference with legal counsel, existing litigation, claim of Infinity Insurance Company. E, conference with legal counsel, anticipated litigation, significant exposure to litigation pursuant to subdivision D2 and E5 of the Government Code Section 54956.9. F would be public employment attorneys.
Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, do you anticipate reporting now?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, anticipate reporting on items 1C and 1D, and then a note for the record on item 1E. The item under consideration is a threat of litigation from the law firm Jeffrey Mengels.
Okay, we will recess to closed session.